Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Christian Sands, and I'm so excited about the new season of Welcome to the Sands Box. For our first episode, we are interviewing one of my favorite pianists and one of my biggest inspirations, the one and only Monty Alexander. What's going on, Mr. Monty?
Everything is everything. It's all good. I'm glad to be with you today, Christian. Glad.
Good. I'm so glad you're here. Like I said before we started recording, there's so many things I want to ask you. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. So we might have to call this a part one, maybe, because there's so many things that we can get into.
Happy to oblige, man.
Oh, good. So let's start here. I mean, when I was studying you and your history, I've found that there were some similarities in the beginning of your story and my story. I started playing piano when I was about 1 year old, but I started taking lessons when I was about 4. Yeah. And then it was classical piano and went to jazz when I was about 9 or 8 years old, something like that. But I know for you, you started at 4 years old as well, doing classical piano and going to jazz when you were 14. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Good to answer these questions, if I can remember. First of all, the piano was in the living room, sitting there, minding its own business, right? The old piano, my mother wanted to go and have some fun, pick out songs. She used to sing in church, but she didn't get very far. But it was just sitting there, and I'd start like a kid going over there, you know, banging the notes and picking out little tunes from a very age. It may have been 3 years old. Yeah. And then somebody said, "You got to go to the piano teacher." And I wasn't too happy about that because I was already struggling with how to be disciplined as a young person. I didn't want anybody telling me what I should do, what not to do. I was a real rebel from a kid. Yeah, same. And maybe that's a part of how I did become competent somewhat, because the lady that was going to teach me, she right away had me, you must do this and you mustn't do that. And from a young age, I was already having fun with the piano. I was making up tunes, playing the folk songs from Jamaica, playing boogie woogie. I got my boogie woogie rhythm thing going. Yeah, everything I did had joy. I was happy, and my joy must have been infectious to the point that the people would hang around and say, "Yeah, Monty, play," you know. Yeah. So that whole sense of when you play and people are enjoying themselves, and it comes back and forth, which is one of the marvels of this lovely thing called jazz. It's this sharing and celebrate, and I got that going from I was very, very young. But I also became somewhat rebellious because I didn't want to go and study the classical techniques and the exercises, because I'd go start playing for fun. Right. And that's been my whole journey, just play for the joy of playing. And somehow one day somebody gave me a job and I got paid. So here I am.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, it's a very similar story to mine, because I started playing classical and I would improvise on the classical pieces. And I had a teacher who said, "Oh, no, you're not supposed to do that. You know, Beethoven never did that. Bach never did that." You know, and they're very opinionated of how classical was supposed to be. And so she finally got to a point where she said, "You know, I'm tired of telling him no. So maybe he should start jazz studies." And I started playing jazz piano, which, for me, I think just like yourself, it was second nature, because you were having fun. It was something that you could express yourself with, and something that you could really try new things without being told you can't do that. So that's that hits home for me.
Sure.
You know? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So let's continue. So, you know, growing up, there was a lot of music going on for you. And I was checking out before this interview, I was checking out Clue J and his Blues Blasters. So, because I just was really curious. So I wanted to talk to you about that, just hearing that music growing up.
Well, you know, for me, it wasn't just the music, it was the people, because I was around these salt of the earth, down home guys, Jamaica. I mean, let's say Jamaica's version of Harlem, you know, soul, really soul from the get-go. I wasn't around the proper types. In fact, the proper types, I'd be running from them. Right. Because I was already rebellious. And I just loved being around these men more so than my peers at school, you know, the guys who wanted to go play football and whatever they were doing. I was already loving the camaraderie of being around these older men who accepted me. So it was a life issue, you know, and I got to meet these guys. And from a very early age, I'm I'm right in there playing with them because I knew what to do. I just knew,
Right,
So
right.
they would encourage, yeah, Monty, come on. And I felt like I grew up a lot being around these guys. But there were guys at the bar drinking what we call the white rum because that stuff will kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If you drink too much of it. And I'm around those people. And my mother saying, Monty, watch out, stay away from trouble. Don't smoke the thing. Don't get in trouble.
That's
and
right.
I'm walking the line between what my mother and father said and the preacher said at church, straighten up and fly right.
That's right.
But I wanted to be around these men that were about life.
Yeah.
And talking about telling the stories among themselves, which I think is the heartbeat of why our music called jazz had such life to it. It wasn't a school book thing so much as it was life, Yeah,
that's right. That's right. So talk a little bit about, you talk about these men that have influenced you, not only just music, but just being a person and living this life. Talk about Aubrey Adams.
Oh my goodness!
And Sonny Bradshaw. You got to talk about Sonny Bradshaw.
You're hitting me in those really special places because it brings up that deep, loving feeling of how it all started. And it was the people, like I said.
Yeah.
But Aubrey Adams was this lovely man with a smile forever.
Yeah.
And, my dad was the guy who was behind me when I would say, hey, can we go to the so-and-so and watch Aubrey play the piano? And he'd say, come on, don't let your mother know, right?
Right.
She'd be angry that you went to bed so late. You have to get up in the morning and go to school. So my dad was a culprit with me,
Yeah.
And we would go to certain places to see the musicians because I was very, very young. I mean, I'm still 8 years old, 9, 10, and that's I sensed in Aubrey certain things about music with the piano, where when you would touch the keys, you're smiling right away, and it was delicate and it was warm, and it was little later on when I'd hear these top guys from the USA, names that I would imagine you would know about. I fell in love with the piano playing of a man named Eddie Haywood.
Oh yeah,
right. And Eddie came to Jamaica, and my dad took me to see him at the hotel.
Wow,
I was like, I don't know, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I met Mr. Haywood, and next thing you know, Mr. Haywood, and he had a stammer. He said, play me some piano, and I'm going over there. And apparently, note for note, I heard his interpretation of Soft Summer Breeze or Canadian Sun. And I'm playing it for him. He said, what? All the way in Jamaica, there's this little guy, so my confidence went up a peg,
Yeah.
And Aubrey, when he played, he reflected this. And then a little later on, I hear my greatest hero at the time, Errol Garner. Well, always. Errol is still number one. And by the way, this is a little bit of sharing that I hung out with Errol in my early days in New York. When I came to New York, the main thing with me was just being around these guys. That's still the case. And I was around one of your great people, Dr. Billy Taylor. I was around him. I was around Mary Lou Williams. I saw Willie DeLine. I saw Teddy Wilson play in the later years. He had too much alcohol. But Errol, I hung out with Errol here and there, and this little man that needs to talk like this.
That's right.
Want to sit at the piano and make people happy because he was happy when he touched the piano.
Right.
So these are my heroes. I got to meet them, and when those guys give you the kudos, when you play that note, that's the right note.
That's right. Man, that's amazing. So I mean, because your story is so rich with the culture of the music, I mean, from this level of passing on information from one generation to the next. I mean, you're hanging with Willie the Lion Smith. You're hanging out with, all of these great pianists that have affected how, I play and people younger than me play. I mean, these are the history of the piano. You are the history of the piano, So what made you decide to play jazz music in a professional way? Was it just because you liked it and it just led to being a professional, or was it something that you sought out? You're like, I'm going to do this as my job for the rest of my life. Was it one of those kind of questions, or?
Nope, none of that.
Yeah.
My whole thing was all serendipity.
Yeah.
it came, and from a very early age, I couldn't understand or believe. And I'm going to tell you right now, to this very day, at my tender young age, I can't even begin to believe how I had a career in music.
Yeah.
How that happened. It was like a dream coming true. And the dream's still coming true. I mean, the way I say it, I didn't decide to do music. Music decided that I was going to be a part of that world. You know, it just happened. So it didn't be, what I did try to do was mind my P's and Q's, stay out of trouble, because trouble was everywhere. Drug taking people that were influential that I had to be very careful about, because I saw what was happening to their lives, that these incredible people were going down. Right. And that was the problem. And I was just blessed. Simply. And I sat back and I accepted that when I play some music and it gets to, I call it, and it levitates. Yeah. The music comes alive and people get the goosebumps. I get the goosebumps. It was a miracle, because I didn't do it. This was my attitude. It came through me. That's right. That's right. Not anybody had said, no, play this and don't play that in this note. Because to this day, I may not have told you this, I do not read music. I blanked from studying piano lessons, and everything just about that I learned came from, I call it Monty Radar. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I had the gift to hear things and go play it. And depending on my attitude, I could be Rachmaninoff at the piano. I could imitate that, because my heroes weren't just jazz people, so-called jazz people. It was just hearing the piano sing. Right. When I heard, I would hear the Chopin pieces or the Sibelius pieces. I heard this. I heard Horowitz play, and I said, "Man, that's how the piano is supposed to sound." So I wasn't turned on by the trumpet playing single note. Bud Powell, incredible as he was, that didn't attract me. I heard the piano in its full, rich France bag, So when I heard Oscar Peterson playing, I said, man, this guy's a combination between dangerous boogie woogie, Franz Liszt, Nat King Cole, because he had the process. That's right. That's right. And Nat, by the way, was my number one piano hero, Nat King Cole. And I saw him in Jamaica. I saw that guy. So, my whole life is that, what? These amazing people are like coming from heaven, man, and they play the piano and they just make us all happier with life. Yeah, that's right. So tell me about Nat. I mean, the first time you heard him, the first time you saw him, what was your impression on that? I mean, because when I hear him, there's this classic, this certain elegance that he has, but a certain coolness that he has too. I mean, especially the way he plays and he angles himself at the piano while he's still looking at the audience. Oh yes, well, he was the total entertainer, which to me is a badge of honor. The word entertainer among some of these great music people sound like it's not. I'm not an entertainer. I'm above that, But guess what? Our hero of heroes, Louis Armstrong, and here's another name-dropping moment. I saw Satchmo and I shook his hand at the end of the concert. So I met Satchmo because that was my hero. I go into my Satchmo bag, but So about Nat, here's a Nat story. When I was a kid, my biggest other heroes, and this is something that your ancestors would have been a part of loving, most likely. Being an African American, they love the westerns, the cowboy movies. Yes, that's right. Saturday matinee for me and my buddies at school to go to pictures, as we call it, and see Roy Rogers, Gene Autry, and then see them, and they're shooting the bad guys. Yeah. And I would hear those songs. I'm back in the saddle again. I'd hear this music. That's right. Dream I was a cowboy. So Gene Autry had these little kid songs like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Rudolph the Red, right? And I heard a song on the radio, and it was this song where it's like a kiddie song, and I thought it was Gene Autry. But no, it was this man named Nat King Cole. You sing, Kimo Kaimo. It's a little children's song, Kimo Kaimo, that Natalie talked about, So the combination of that and my mother and father dancing to those delicious romantic songs that he sang, whether it be the very thought of you, right? That's right. That's right. All these songs, and that got down to me, and I'm at the piano playing those songs, To this day, when I hear "Answer Me" or I hear "They tried to tell us we're too young," I remember the little girl down the street that I fell in love with. So that represented a whole world of magic and joy. And to see him on the stage at the Carib Theatre in Kingston, Jamaica in 1955. Sorry to bring the year up.
No, please, that's important.
And to see this elegant, as you said, pigeon-toed guy walking on stage with that shark skin suit, smiling with grace, and sat at the piano. I call it side saddle.
That's right. That's right.
And he's looking at the audience, he could pick whatever he's playing. That rubbed off on me, and I said, I want to do that. You know?
That's right. That's right.
The whole thing about music was also bubbles. It had effervescence.
It did,
What about studying? I don't want to study a day. I was a lazy son of a gun. Lazy as they come, you know? So I would play the piano and somehow magic. That's
Oh, that's beautiful. And I'm glad you talked about the topic of entertainment and performance, because when I watch you play, I mean, you influenced me so much of just putting on a show with this excellence of playing, but also it's fun. I mean, people that go to your shows, I mean, they are on the edge of their seats, but they're also having a great time. They're smiling from ear to ear. I mean, no matter who you play with, even, you know, solo piano, I mean, they're also listening intently. I mean, you have mastered this type of this avenue that you've gone down of being this world-class entertainer. Can you talk about the discovery? Did it come from the Cyclones? Did it start there? Or did it?
There you go again. Hitting me really where it counts, right?
You know, did it come from there, or did you have to learn that? Was it something that you had to practice, or?
In Jamaica, among all the musics that you would hear on the radio, the pop songs from America, all the rhythm and blues I love when I grew up, you know, from Fats Domino to Little Richard, these guys who played piano and had rings on every finger, you know.
Right,
and all that. I had access to being friendly with these folk playing musicians who played homemade instruments, and they'd sit there and entertain the tourists at the hotel, singing the songs that Harry Belafonte gave us. They, Mr. Day-o, they delight these songs, and I would see them entertaining the audience and they loving it and the joy that it brought. You know, and people say, "Hey, give me another rum. I want another pina colada," and the people are having a ball listening to this music, right? But then I see the king of them all, Louis Armstrong, and he gets on the stage, and the moment he gets on the stage, he says, "Good evening, everybody," right? And immediately the audience is just enraptured. Yeah. And by the time Satchmo gets through with his gospel of upliftment, the joint is jumping, and the people it's like church meeting in the Baptist church, which was there also. So I heard the Baptist church people with the tambourine, the Pentecostal. I heard the Calypso guys. I heard Armstrong. I saw Nat King Cole with his elegance and way of doing. I saw Duke Ellington in the old video V-disc. They had the old movie clips. I saw him, and he would say all those lovely things. Ellington would say, "We do love you madly," and all that. He was giving the audience a reason for them to feel good about spending their $20.
Yeah, that's
so that was a part of the game. Then my other hero that I met was who I actually played the piano for and accompanied was none other than Frank Sinatra.
That's right.
And I met Sinatra, and that whole world of illustrious people. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. 2 years after I come from Jamaica, here I am in the same room with these people. You know, so
this is when you were at Gillies, right?
Gillies, that's Gillies. Yeah. So you asked me a couple of questions earlier. You asked me about Cluj and the Blues Blasters, and Cluj was this rum drinking guy. Yeah. He played bass, but there was just something about him that when he would play those notes and the way he was as a person, that was a real deal. That was like soul, brother. You know, and Cluj was Cloet Johnson. And like I said, he did a little too much of the rum drinking. Yeah. And I was around those people. Those were my heroes, you know. Yeah. And then I come to New York just a couple of years later, and I'm playing in these bars where, once again, the bars, the saloons. Right. These are my academy of music places. Yeah. Yeah. You know, they were, I mean, the hoodlums were in these places. Yeah. And we call them the hookers. They're at the bar. That's where I had to play. And I venture to think Dr. Billy had the same environment to deal with occasionally.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah.
So I get going, and you have to forgive me because I start remembering.
Oh, please, this is what this is all about. I told you this is going to have to be a part 1, part 2, part 3 conversation. We got to do this again.
But I just want to say, I was born in this world before you. And I'm just so pleased to see someone such as you, and in particular you, Christian, and how you're handling what's coming your way and the gift that you're sharing and how extraordinary it is. And it made me think of myself in a way, not to try to compare, but the fact that you're taking your gift into these wondrous avenues, you know, and that you're such an important part of the whole thing at Monterey. And I don't know if you saw it, but I have my own wonderful history with the Monterey Festival. But it's ancient that I'm supposed to be like this, But I was there, and I just remember being there and how thrilling it was, and here you are. It's just great to see that.
Well, that was my next question. I guess my last question. But your experience with Monterey Jazz Festival, the first time you played there, what was it like? When was it? Who was in the band? Tell me all about that.
I had just come from one of these serendipitous occasions where I met the master, great bassist, one of a kind, larger than life man, Mr. Ray Brown. I met Ray. He was a spitting image of my Uncle Jim, my mother's brother. I said, that looks like Uncle Jim. So when I met Ray in 1967, 66, and I just felt this kinship, and he liked me right away, even before he heard me play the piano. Yeah. So one night in L.A., I'm telling you the long version, there was this club that he was going to play with these other musicians. And I met him and said, are you playing in town in LA? He said, yeah, I'm at this place, but it's not a jazz club, but I'm playing with these other guys. And one of them, the piano player that was in the group, had too much. Here again, I'm talking about alcohol. This guy had too much to drink, and he was at the bar like this. Yeah. And they had to play one more tune for the night. Nobody's really listening. And I just jumped on the piano. I couldn't hold myself back. He said, can I play? And we start swinging so hard, it hurt.
Yeah.
And he's back there screaming, yeah. And I got up from the piano and he said to me, where are you going to be this summer?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know why. He said, I want you to come and play with me and Milt Jackson.
Oof, yeah.
So that's a gift. That does come from above, right?
Yeah.
And there I am. Yeah, sure, because I met Milt before, and I knew musicians who had played with him, Bob Cranshaw, Mickey Roker, guys who have gone ahead at this time. So there I am at Shelley's Manhole in Hollywood, Florida in 1969. And that's just before I received this invitation from none other than Mr. Jimmy Lyons.
That's right.
The man who started the whole thing, right? Uh-huh. And I got through with my Shelley Manhole gig with Ray and Milt. And we were swinging every night, and the people from LA, they kept coming to hear this group. We were so infectious, joyful, right? Because when Milt played vibes, he was preaching.
Right.
He was every note was like, what? It's like those metal bars were smoldering, man. Yeah. And I went up to Monterey, and the drummer that was playing in the group with Milt and Ray was from San Francisco. His name was Dick Burke. Big guy. We call him Sputnik. The bass player was a journeyman, awesome bass player from LA named John Hurd. Mm-hmm. I was able to establish what I call that indefinable click. So the groove was there, and whatever. We just got on the bandstand, and we played these various numbers. And I do remember distinctly being on the bill with Roberta Flack, her first time there. Mm-hmm. And if I may dare say, I believe that was the very time where our hero, Mr. Clint Eastwood, heard her singing the first time I saw your face. And that was the song that he used in Play Mister for Me, this great film that showed Monterey. And on the bill was our ever mercurial hero, Miles Davis.
That's right.
And Miles had one of these coming electric kind of things. He wasn't doing the straight ahead than what Miles had done with Wynton Kelly that we love so much. Yeah. So it was kind of all this, Yeah. And I just come up there with some no-nonsense stuff, and we got the standing ovation and the article.
That's right.
Monty Alexander, blah, blah, blah. So that was my beginnings and my first experience at Monterey. And I get long-winded. I can't help it. Sorry.
Well, look, Monty, I mean, we can stay here all day, but we're definitely going to come back, and we're going to so this is definitely part one. We are doing a part one. We have more parts to go. Thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate everything you do. And we're going to be continuing this conversation.
I'm up for it. And I think out of it can come two guys from a couple of different worlds, sort of talking about something that might be valuable and precious for other people to be privy to, your view, my view, and it's just to show that yours have little to do with it. You know, you're carrying a baton that I picked up a little bit on, and you're out there doing it, and Lord save us from all this virus stuff, and we'll be back in action before long, you know. So I'm up for talking with you again whenever you suggest.
Awesome.
Okay?
Well, thank you very much.